An industry at a crossroad. That is a state of the micro-lending business in this country. And the question is, which is the way forward, or what is the way forward? This will be forming our conversation later on here on a BizCheck. My name is Kimani. Thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us. But before we get there, we also want to have a look at the horticulture sector in Kenya. It is one of the biggest contributors to the agriculture sector, contributing about 36% of total input or output in the agriculture sector, which supports about 25% of Kenyan economy. What is the status of this industry? That is the conversation we shall be having here. And of course, we have our reporters from Nairobi to Mombasa and of course to the western part of this country. They are on the ground tracking the happenings down there. They shall be informing us what is the news around their counties. But for now, let's come back to the studio and have our conversation right now. The conversation is around the horticulture sector. And the question is, how do we boost or how do we help in the growth of this critical sector? We're talking to Loyd Ndung'u. He is the chairman and CEO of AVO-VEG, which is a fruit and vegetable exporter as well as a grower here in Kenya. He's now joining us. Thank you very much indeed, Nathan, for joining us here. Give us an overview, first of all, of where are we and how is the industry looking, coming at a time when there was major disruptions because of COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, thank you again. My name is Nathan Loyd. Kenya is, if we look at the advantages of Kenya first, let's look at we are number 8 in the world. This, if you look stemming back from the last few decades, this has a testimony in terms of the entrepreneurs and the farmers to bring us to be number 8 in the world right now. Coming to current, with your question related to the epidemic started from 2020 into 2021, it has been a huge challenge. Businesses already have their own challenges, but the COVID has literally shaken us to our knees. Yes.
I remember sometimes last year, mid last year, I mean, the industry was bleeding and losses were running into billions of shillings, Have we managed to recover, and to what extent have the industry gone back to pre-pandemic levels?
Managed to recover? No. It's still going to take us at least a year to start the recovery process, because you see, this was a worldwide issue, not only a Kenyan issue, but a worldwide issue, since we export our produce to Europe, and when the world is affected, then we're all affected on many different levels. So have we started the recovery? No, we have not. Do we anticipate see light at the end of the tunnel? 2022 should be our year of recovery. Yes.
There is an ongoing logistic disruptions in the world caused by lack of containers and shortage of the same in China. Has this somehow impacted the local industry here?
It definitely has impacted, because we ship 90% of what we ship goes by sea, especially avocados. So the disruption, of course, disrupts us exporters, and at the same time it also goes all the way down to the grassroots, also affecting our farmers. Yes, so it has.
When you look at statistics from the Directorate of Horticulture, there was a reduction in terms of revenue in the 10 months between January 2021 to October of about 12 billion shillings. Why was this the case? And people, everybody was expecting that, and now that, somehow the pandemic has petered out, things were likely to pick up, quickly.
You see, the pandemic took place especially in 2020, but even we have just come out of lockdown as Kenya, in terms of the curfew has been lifted, all those aspects. That's just a month ago. In the business aspect, it's a bounce back cannot happen just immediately. This was a total disruption. So to put back our systems in place, to put back everything in place, because we're heavily reliant on logistics. So it takes time. And takes time is why I see 2022 should be our year where we start to recover. Especially with the exports we did not achieve in 2020 and 2021, we are going to now double up on our exports in 2022. Yes.
Is there a strong demand in our key markets?
For us, we cannot even keep up the demand. The demand is, you see, the avocados are used for many different areas. We have now avocado oil used for cooking. Believe it or not, we also have avocado chocolate. So we have avocado milkshakes. So the demand continues.
Milkshake, I know, chocolate. Not.
Yes, there is avocado chocolate, and we even have restaurants in the US that just focus only on avocado, from the appetizer to the main course to your desserts. So the demand will keep on increasing. Yes.
So why is it hard for us, you know, bearing in mind that we are 8th largest producer or exporter of horticulture in the world, why is it so hard for Kenya to seize that opportunity and deepen our export?
I think we are on the right track to deepen our export. The shake-up with, even when you look at this stimulus package that has been talked about, the 1.5 billion, it's been talked about, but it's not been actualized. If we look at our more developed countries like in Europe, where we export to, the government has actually intervened to support the private sector to bounce back. So we'll still need government support to be able to bounce back. Yes.
When you say the 1.5 billion shillings has not been actualized, what exactly do you mean?
Our president mentioned that there will be a stimulus package of 1.5 billion to help in the recovery process. So that has been said by our president, but has not been actualized in terms of its words that have not followed through with action.
As an industry, because I know the horticulture industry has a very strong lobby platform, have you picked up this with the National Treasury?
We even through like organizations like Kenya Fresh Consortium, which is the CEO is OJPAT. They have actually, they represent a group of us exporters. They have been actually at their doors, literally pleading. So there's been a lot of listening, but no action. So has it been done through a unified voice? It has, but there's no action as far as that goes. So we continue to run at this alone.
And from where you sit, or from where you stand as an industry, why do you think there's a drag in implementing the presidential directive?
I think the drag would come with one or two ministries dropping the ball, because this is the president who has given directive, and then from there it's all about politicking, which would be more focused now on August 2022 than the fact that the SMEs and the private sector are the ones that really are the heroes and the ones that are driving our Kenyan economy. But at the end of the day, we ignored, and I think it's one or two dropping the ball at the expense of our Kenyan economy. Yes.
And when you say there is some lack of political will, this lack of political will is from which part of the government?
This, of course, would go now to Treasury. It will go to the Ministry of Agriculture, because that should be the unified voice stating that my sector, my people, which is the exporters, which is the farmers, which is all the stakeholders, need support to be able to bounce back. If I give you a case in point, one of the countries we export to is in France. The government guaranteed the banks, all the banks, to issue a loan to the importers at 0.25% per annum, and giving them a 6 months moratorium to bounce back. Ours, all we hear is prices are increasing, and we're also at the stake of hemorrhaging in terms of just borrowing debt after debt after debt, instead of supporting the private sector. The private sector are the ones that will drive our Kenyan economy. Yes.
The industry employs about 350,000 people directly, and about 6 million more people indirectly. There were reports that at the height of the pandemic, there were job losses, running into hundreds of thousands of people. Are these people still jobless, or companies have gone back to hiring?
These people are jobless because, you see, every time you have to look at it from both aspects. Yes, it's one thing when we hear that KRA has exceeded its targets. But when KRA has exceeded its targets, the part that's not being mentioned, and I know personally how many businesses have gone belly up. They have literally thrown in the towels. They're unable to sustain. So KRA can have exceeded their targets, but at what expense? They claim that there's a listening ear. There's no listening ear. It's at the expense of businesses that have actually collapsed.
So how many jobs have been lost so far as we speak?
I would just be guessing. I would guess easily close to 1 million.
As AVO-VEG,
yes.
Have you been forced to lay off workers?
Absolutely. It's if we cannot export, if we cannot, and the industry comes to basically to a standstill, then we have had to do that. But we've had to make painful decisions to still keep the core essential staff, as we prepare also to bounce back. So have we had to? Yes, we have had. Has it been painful? Extremely painful. Yes.
And how are you close to getting back to business, to pre-pandemic level business?
We are just pretty much close by now depleting all our reserves. We have farmed up our orders for 2022, and we are now geared up to double our production. We are going to go into 24-hour shifts to be able to pull back from 2021 and 2020. So that's what we're going to do. We're doubling up, and we're set, including opening a new factory, a new place that we'll be processing to meet our current international orders.
What happens if you're going to dry up your reserves?
Drying up our reserves, we have to look at this as my country. So I have to do everything in my powers as the CEO and chairman of AVO-VEG to be able to bounce back. By bouncing back, even some of the staff members released will be rejoining us in January. So that's just a comfort that we're able to give them. So there's just no option. We have to do it, and we have to double up and our reserves. Our hope was that we would get some of the stimulus package to be able to recover from some of the losses we have anticipated. Yes.
How critical is this stimulus package to your business?
My business, my friendly competitors who were other competitors, other CEOs, it is critical to the sustainability. Some who even have thrown in the towel with the stimulus package could decide to come back in the game to be able to export our fresh produce, not only avocados, but we're also doing vegetables.
Do you have any idea how many companies have gone belly up?
The ones that I know, at least 10.
10?
Yes, at least 10 that have gone belly up. Literally, their machines, my equipment's up for auction, all these components. That's why I was saying last time, it's one good aspect to say that your CRB has been sponged, but what is the key? Why were you listed on CRB? If it's directly related to COVID, the loan still needs to be paid. I see some people so excited that my CRB record is cleared up. I say, does that mean you're not going to pay your loan? No, I have to. So this kind of stimulus package is something that's necessary to the very fiber of our Kenyan economy. Yes.
When you're talking about 10 companies that have closed their business down, yes, of course this is loss of revenue for many people. Do you have an idea how many people have been impacted by that?
If you even look at an average of an SME, some of the companies that I do know, average they have about 50 employees. So if you take that times 10, then of course that becomes about 500.
500.
Yes.
Those are the people who are directly employed, yes, in that company.
Yes.
And then they have dependents.
Of course.
They have suppliers.
Yes.
So the ripple effect is likely to be major.
I can tell you, I've sat with both men and women CEOs who literally are tearing in front of me, can't believe they have lost their businesses. It is painful to see it. And the hope is like, will this stimulus package ever happen? And even if it does happen, it should go through a monitoring body like Kenya Fresh Produce Association. Why? Because they'll be able to monitor these are genuine companies that are registered with them so that they can actually benefit. This would have a humongous benefit because a bounce back as an entrepreneur, it never takes, some people think it takes a week or two. It will take us at least 6 months just to start recovery. Yes.
6 months to start recovery.
Yes.
Has the government, would you say that the government has been very supportive of the industry in its recovery?
The government has been supportive with words, but not with action. So has been supportive with words, which is sad, because when you hear that, especially from the head of state, it gives you a level of comfort. But when it stops there, in terms of the delegation to the specific departments, then it's all about politicking, listening with no action. So it's words as the businesses go belly up, as KRA announces how much they've exceeded their targets. I'm like, what world are some people living in? Let's live in the world of what we go through daily. Yes, there's a total disconnect.
Do you believe that there is political goodwill to help this industry?
Political goodwill is there. Is there action after that? No.
So there's a lot of talk.
Yes.
But no work.
No work, zero support.
A lot of backing, but no biting.
Correct.
So how do we then need to connect, from the talk to the walk and from the bark to the biting?
We would need to connect. I always said if I ever came, not that I'll run for politics, if I ever became in specific position, I would put someone in that department that actually has the experience in that department. For example, if somebody was handling roads, then I'd make sure that they actually have a company where they've handled roads and have the experience. So that when an entrepreneur says, this is how I feel, you actually feel. Now, calling for a specific roundtable meeting to be able to look at these are the challenges. If we do not have this kind of support, there is a possibility that we would go belly up. So having a roundtable meeting with action points and specific timelines. I always say a decision is not a decision without a date and time. Not saying I will do it in due time or in due course. That's answering nothing.
You see, when you look at the performance of the sector in 2020, the industry returned about 150 billion shillings in terms of revenue. However, a significant portion of this went into air freight. Okay. And now the questions are coming. How do we reduce the cost of freight in this country to ensure that a lot of revenue from horticulture does not end up with multinational cargo or shipping agents?
Some of it, if you look at the air freight and all those other components, when we increase the cost of fuel, everything is pegged on that. So that means the air freight, as a form of additional taxation to collect more, you're collecting more from companies and individuals or groups who are not exporting or exporting less, but you want to collect more. So we have to rethink and actually have the right party, the right group, listening us with action and timeline, saying the stimulus package was directed by the president, our president, 1.5. Why isn't it being released? And we have a small group of panel related to businessmen who are in this sector, who will be able to say, okay, by when, to who, and then we have a strategy on how this will be done. But for now, it's just about our economy, our Kenyan economy is going to hemorrhage. Well, with all this borrowing, how about focus on the private sector that's driving this economy? Those are the real heroes of Kenya.
You know, your organization is a member of Kenya Private Sector Alliance,
yes, it is.
Which has a very strong lobbying platform with the highest office in the land. Has it picked up this issue?
I think it's picked up the issue, but not with the urgency that it deserves. We're looking at like just a regular day event, so not with the urgency that it deserves. They have picked it up, but they've not, where the rubber meets the road, nothing really as much is happening.
There are also claims or allegations that the reason why the government or the National Treasury is yet to release the 1.5 billion shillings is because there are different factions, you know, within the sector. And so the real question is, I mean, who do you deal with in dispensing the 1.5 billion shillings stimulus package? To what extent is there truth in that statement?
There's a lot of disorder, but if we have a special purpose vehicle, like when something goes out of control, the government would create a special purpose vehicle to investigate a specific thing. Something has gone wrong. COVID is a form of, we have gone into a form of a war. And the war is, how do we save the Kenyan economy by saving the SMEs? So forming urgently with an entrepreneur, with somebody that's actually in that sector, and with a body that actually listens out, like the Kenya Fresh Produce group of associations. Yes.
Is this being done?
The CEO of OJPAT has been to Treasury 3 or 4 times. It's a lot of talk with no action. We hear you, we understand you, that's it, we'll look into it. Guess what? No timeline, nothing, we'll look into it.
How long do you think this is likely to continue?
Sadly, if it continues, I talked to you about 10 companies that I know of, it will increase. So it has to be someone with almost like the level of an iron fist, saying that, listen, this has to be done for the benefit of our Kenyan economy. With that, we'll also be borrowing less. We're always constantly borrowing from international bodies. That's not solving anything. It's just a temporary solution. Yes, the borrowing is temporary solutions when we should be looking at the very fiber of our businesses in Kenya. Yes.
When you look at the horticulture industry, fruits and vegetables, I mean, the consumption here in Kenya, we consume about 95% of all fruits and vegetables that are produced here. But when you look at flowers, I mean, we export more than 90% of all the flowers. And there has been arguments that this is something that we need to relook so that you have a balance. As an industry, is this something that you're looking at?
As we become more and more aware and become more health conscious, it's actually happening naturally. The Europeans or the Americans have been able to look at the health benefits of taking the avocado. We used to be told an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's actually the avocado. It also has health benefits to fight against COVID in terms of offsetting the pH balance in your stomach. So as we become more health conscious, yes, it will happen. We are becoming more health conscious as a nation, becoming more aware in terms of how we need to keep up with our health. Yes, so it will happen.
Are we encouraging more Kenyans, to embrace the culture of buying and giving out flowers so that we can boost the flower industry in Kenya?
Okay, don't see how much we're encouraging, because that only seems to come up as a hot topic during Valentine's in February for one single day. Apart from that, maybe it's just a culture that because Europe or overseas in the Western, they see the value of buying the flowers, and in Kenyans is a bit different. So I'm not focusing so much on that, and that's not my key sector, but in terms of seeing do we actually show that form of affection of flowers. If I walked out of here and walked through Nairobi right now with flowers saying I'm taking my wife, there would be a lot of laughter. I'm like, what's so funny about me taking flowers to my wife?
So why what do we need to do to change this culture whereby we see flowers, giving of flowers, as a just one day occasion, or when somebody is in hospital?
Yes. I think what we need to do is to start with ourselves, which comes to each of, I know the power of one multiplied continues. So I still buy my wife flowers, I still take her flowers. Yes, I get laughter, and with my friends and colleagues, I still mention to them the importance of being able to buy the flowers and show the level of affection. Not only buy the flowers during the time of in hospital or the time of when we're attending funerals.
And I remember back in the year 2000, early 2010, 2008, 2011, 2012, the Kenya Flower Council, used to be very aggressive in encouraging people to buy flowers and support the local flower industry. But somehow this went quiet. Are we looking at reviving this kind of initiatives to ensure that we boost the uptake of flowers and vegetables in this country?
I think it's something that would be done. Of course, someone who's handling flowers would look at the business aspect also of it. If I can export my flower and get X amount more than getting it on this side, sometimes we over-negotiate when we're buying the flowers, start saying that's too expensive. Yet you're not thinking about the value of what it means for your loved one as far as buying the flowers. So a shift in the mentality will have to take place for us Kenyans to be able to add more value on that. But like I said, it's not my main sector, but that's just my personal opinion.
That's your personal opinion.
Yes.
Let's go back to veggies and and fruit, and because that is your domain.
Yes.
There has been calls that we need to diversify our export markets, yes. but we seem to be doing so little, and almost 70% of our fruits and vegetables, they end up in the European market, where they impose stringent measures. Are we looking at other markets?
We're looking at, even in coming to AVO-VEG itself, we have now started exporting. The mango season is on, so we're exporting now to the Middle East. So we're looking at markets in the Middle East and into Oman. We are exporting into Oman. We're exporting also into Dubai. So yes, we are looking at other markets so that we don't solely depend on the European markets alone. Yes.
What about the African markets?
African markets now would come to the viability in terms of matching the international prices that we're getting. Yes. Yes.
But when you look at the prices that you're likely to get, like for example, let's say Uganda, Tanzania, or Burundi, minus the freight charges, are you likely to be in good business when you are doing business within the region?
For now, no. For now, to be good business within even our surrounding neighbors, it would not match what we're currently getting, even by exporting to Europe. For now, no. And some of the surrounding countries also grow their own, in this case, own avocados. And then there's different varieties. There's the variety that we export. There's also the variety that we consume locally. Yes.
So you're still of the opinion that the regional market is not as lucrative as you would say the European market in terms of cost?
In terms of cost, no. And if you look at, let's say Uganda also grows its own avocados. And when we're exporting to Europe, we're exporting to countries, a majority who cannot grow their own avocados. So as compared to our neighbors who can grow their own avocados, so there's quite a bit of a difference there. Yes.
Let's talk about the economic partnership agreement, I mean, which was expected to help catapult the industry, to the next level. When Kenya signed the EPAs on its own, I mean, there was huge uproar, from our regional peers. But has this in any way helped shield the industry from collapse?
It has helped so far, again, sorry to say, but has helped with talk, but not much action that follows after it. So where we're lacking is very good talk and PR, but action, no.
What action would you as an industry be looking to see in order for you to say, yes, at least finally we have managed to beat that corner?
There would be action in terms of even sometimes if, let's say, we're to get an order to export to our neighboring countries, it in some cases could take longer to export to our neighbors than it would take to export to let's say even Dubai. With the current state of our infrastructure, yes, a lot is being done, but a lot more still needs to be done. The current state of our infrastructure, we're dealing with perishables, so this becomes key in terms of the reliability on the air freight, or if it's sea, or the local transport. So that is still in its infancy stage. A lot has been done, but a lot more needs to be done. Yes.
So when you say that we need to invest more in infrastructure, I mean, there is a lot of investment in the infrastructure sector, be it roads, the expansion of the ports, the airports. So how comes this is not enough?
There's a lot of infrastructure that's ongoing. So is it going to be enough? Yes, but also keep in mind that we are still a growing economy. So as we look at it, sometimes planning ahead, not just for the next 2 or 3 years, but planning ahead for 10, for 20, now we're talking about 2030. So there is a lot going in the positive aspect that's happening. When will we feel those positive effects? In my view, in another 2 or 3 years. But it is happening.
It is happening.
Yes.
Let's also look at the issue of the cost of electricity. I mean, and we have seen, an increase, but we have also seen government saying that it is looking at reducing these by 33% on Christmas Eve. What has been the damage of high energy cost to the industry?
High energy cost for the industry, if you look at the current high energy cost, naturally all those costs we have to pass on to our customers, and it puts us, being a bigger economy even than our neighbors, the surrounding countries, we have an upper hand, but we become disadvantaged when we talk about, now we're saying Christmas Eve. For now, we're almost like on a wait and see approach. But if we know the industry costs are high, and just the same way the government sometimes will take action, why not do it with immediate effect? We already know it's a problem. So I do not understand why prolong. We're saying now till Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. Why prolong it? If it's going to help the industry, our Kenya start to bounce back. I don't understand why wait. With immediate effect, sometimes our president or different ministries can say this takes place with immediate effect. The curfew was lifted with immediate effect. So some of these components, are they going to be beneficial? 100%. So I don't understand why are we waiting? If we know it's going to benefit, why wait? Let's do it immediately.
Let's look at a situation whereby, on 25th of this year, of December this year, power bills come down by 33%. Would this be a relief to the industry?
100%. It will be a huge relief. Even in our, if it's actually actualized, it will be a huge relief, even in our bounce back strategy for 2022. Yes.
What impact will this have on your production cost?
This would reduce our production cost by even 3, 4, 5% in terms of reducing our production cost. In the industry that we're doing and the volumes that we're doing, that's a huge savings. Huge. Yes.
A savings of about 2 I mean, 3%, 4%, 5%
Yes.
would be good enough for the industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything as an entrepreneur, anything that where you can save a 1 or 2% is a huge benefit for the bottom line, and especially if you're recovering back from the shocks of the COVID, it's now double benefit.
Are you likely to hire more people if this happens?
Absolutely. As I was mentioning earlier, we're going to go, in order to meet our targets for 2022, we have to do a 24-hour shift, which we're gearing up also to hire the second team as we speak, in readiness now to start the new season and the new year 2022. Yes.
The government just the other day had banned, the export of avocados on grounds that some of the avocados that were being exported were not mature enough. How has this impacted companies like you that rely on the export of avocados and fruits?
See, the word that hits the media, the word ban, the avocados have not been banned, but it will get a lot of traction when media hear the word ban. It's more of a restriction. You see, when you export an avocado that's not mature, in terms of the dry matter, it will never ripen. And this becomes where we damage the very fiber of the industry in Kenya, where our clients, Peru, can fetch a better price for the avocados. Reason being, they will not export, they will follow government directives. So there's no ban in place. It's a restrictive measure to allow in preparation for the next season. We cannot do sea shipments, but minimal air shipments with avocado that has achieved maturity will be still exported. So, but it's to put a hold. Let me use the word not ban, but to put a temporary hold to allow our fruits to mature. That's all. Yes.
Who was, using the word that you're saying, I mean, that you're using, stopping, the export of avocados. I mean, who was these directed to, or who was likely to feel the impact of this?
The ones who would feel the impact of exporting avocados that are not yet mature, unfortunately, it's usually the scrupulous exporters who do not maybe even own pack houses and what we call third-party processors. They just want to export, not really looking at the very fiber of the image of Kenya. Because these fruits, if they were allowed to live in the container loads, would arrive, never ripen. Then we have complaints into our different embassies stating that Kenya's exporters are exporting immature fruits. So for us, and this hold or limitation, we look at it as positive because we want to follow the regulations and we want to export quality products that are mature.
And this now goes back to the issue of brokers in the business, and they have in the past managed to afflict serious damages, to the horticulture industry in this Kenya. Why is it so hard to deal with unscrupulous business people in this business?
Okay, some of it goes like now as we steadily weed out brokers. It's been a fight as far as that goes, but we do it because some of the farmers have been convinced by the brokers that Nairobi is, because we have pack houses here in Embakasi, Nairobi, have been convinced that getting to Nairobi is a very big challenge. It's like you're traveling to another country. So we organize specific vans, we organize events, we bring them to see where their fruits are going. We educate them on the value of how to pick, the methods to pick, and support as far as that level. But the brokers would be very successful to convince the farmers otherwise, but we have also become very successful to convince the farmers, this is your product. You've put in your blood, sweat, and tears to be able to grow it, to be able to nurture it, organize so that this can be processed, in our case at AVO-VEG, to be able to handle that. So brokers would want to look out for their own pockets, and they would gain more profit, sadly to say, than the farmer themselves.
Let's, for example, pick avocados, because there has been a serious avocado farming in Kenya, and more so in the Mount Kenya region. Unfortunately, farmers are ending up being exploited by brokers, because one piece of hash avocado, farmers are selling these at 5 shillings, at 6 shillings. Correct. The same on the international market fetches almost 200 shillings.
Correct.
So how do we shield our farmers and ensure that they enjoy maximum benefits, or they reap maximum benefits from their fruits?
I would advise, which is what we have also started to do at AVO-VEG again, is form associations. You know, through forming a circle and association, you form now a stronger group, and then you agree on a specific price with the specific exporter, which is what we are doing. So it will not fluctuate, and this will be the amount that will be paid directly to the association with the group of farmers. So the way to do that is to form associations within subgroups and groups. That's the best way to do it, and it is happening, and for us it has started to work. Yes.
We have seen a situation whereby a lot of farmers are cashing in and of course are venturing into avocado farming, and a lot of them, they do not have a clear knowledge of how this farming is done. First of all, is there money in avocado farming?
Absolutely, 100%.
So what do you need to do, you know, to tap those resources that are there?
You see, it starts from always make sure you start things right. How you start is more important than just getting started very quickly. The kind of seedling that you buy. It's just like if you want to buy a specific, let's say dog or something, you have to buy the pedigree. So you have to start right by buying the right seedling from the certified associations or the certified groups that do supply the seedlings, because the yield output will be a lot higher. And then you go into training of husbandry, how to take care of the avocado, the fact that it needs a lot of water and all those components. By following the steps and going through that training, and then finally how to prune and then how to pick. With that, we have farmers today, including AVO-VEG, I can tell you, that started off 2 or 3 years ago with bicycles. Today they own trucks, they own vehicles, not from bank money, but profits that they made directly from AVO-VEG.
Yes. And I have seen a situation whereby, and this is happening a lot, especially in Kiambu County, whereby farmers are uprooting coffee, they are uprooting tea bushes, and they are planting avocados. Is this a wise move financially going forward?
100%. It's a wise move on many aspects. One, population is still increasing. I told you the use of the avocados coffee can have maybe just 1 or 2 uses, but the avocado has many uses. Now go to Art Cafe, go to the different restaurants, you have avocado toast, and these are all part of the healthy form of diets that you can take. So as I said, the avocado chocolate, cooking with it, the milkshake, so you cannot go wrong on that one. And that's why Kenya has come from not even top 50 to number 8 in just 20 years. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
What about mangoes? I mean, in this country, the weather is perfect for mango farming, and especially on the lower eastern side of this country and the upper eastern side of this country. So how comes farmers there are yet to be empowered to know the value of the fruits that they have and start, cashing in on the export market?
When it comes to mangoes, it's also an industry that's coming up quite a bit. The component that we have to have even on farmers, and if you look at the avocados and mangoes, it's a crop that takes a little bit of time to start producing. So the first crop would take, in the avocado part, will take 4 years. But you'll be picking from this very tree for the next 35 years. O'Brien, that's going to be, I assume by then you'll even be retired. So, and you see, it's a benefit that crosses one generation to the next. On the mangoes, is not because of not following procedure, by putting the fruit fly trap. This is what is damaging the mangoes, where they did not meet European standards. But that was just lifted this year. So now we are able to export even to Europe if we have followed the procedure and have the right certification. So by being able to follow procedure, the sky and beyond we can continue. Yes.
What about passion farming?
Passion farming is another aspect. We have also started exporting passion fruit. So we have the best climate. If you even travel to some of these other places, even being in Dubai the other day, you have to go from building to building because it's too hot. And it's in the 40s to 50s. We have the best soils, and all of this, the best climate, the best soils, and the longest season. Even for veggies, we can do that. We are doing that 12 months of the year. So we have all these advantages, but we want to focus on the disadvantages. To focus on disadvantages, follow procedure, follow the procedures, you will benefit from the farmers, from all the other value-add products. Yes.
And So, because there is so much demand, for vegetables, for fruit, even on the international market. So why haven't we then taken time to educate our farmers who are still struggling with maize and beans farming in this country?
Some is almost like generational, where your grandfather did it, so your father does it, and then you want to do it without looking at the value. Do we take time? We do. We do have training sessions, we do have get-together sessions, we do have time for bonding with our farmers, as one of our core values is family. So with that, we have the training, we have the appreciation, we have the understanding. We have farmers right now who supply us from 20-year-old to 87-year-old. And the 87-year-old actually drives his own truck that he bought through profits from AVO-VEG. So education is taking place.
Nathan, I mean, if you have 10 acres in Kitale, would you grow maize?
No.
Or avocados?
Avocados.
You go for avocados?
Absolutely.
Why not maize?
Avocados, look at, if one is able to be patient for 3 years and to follow through the proper procedure, for 35 years, that avocado tree will be at peak performance. I'm talking about 35 years. Which other investment, even putting your money in a bank or doing other things, you will not earn that kind of return on investment. Absolutely not. So for me to be avocado, because of the industry and because I've done my own homework and research.
Is the climate there conducive for avocado farming or vegetable farming?
Yes, it is. It is. You have to have access to water, but the climate is conducive, and preferably having red soil. Yes.
So as an industry, I mean, have you taken this message to the people down there?
We have taken the message. We have Moranga, we have Nyeri, we have Embu, we have Nakuru. So we're taking our message. We also have Bomet now, and Bomet we brought the whole group to AVO-VEG last year for training, for appreciation, for understanding. So yes, we're doing it steadily, and we're also encouraging the farmers to form circles and associations so that we can weed out the middlemen. Yes.
So what would happen if you have a situation whereby so many people adopt fruit farming and vegetable farming? Will we have market?
We cannot keep up with the demand. The market is just continuing to increase and increase and increase. I mean, if you look at Netherlands, if you look at France, if you look at Spain, if you look at Germany, if you look at the UK, market with AVO-VEG and even with other competitors, we can't keep up. We're just told to keep up with the quality standards. But with demand, it's only increasing.
It's
only getting better and better.
It's getting better and better.
Absolutely.
What is your message to the people who are watching and listening to you? And they're asking themselves, I mean, look here. I mean, I've been doing maize farming, beans farming in the last 30, 40 years. And now, listening to Nathan, he wants me to have a shift, a 360-degree shift. So how do I do that?
The message would be from testimony of our current farmers. The testimonies from our current farmers who, some of them were doing other products, were doing coffee, were doing all those components, and testimonies for them to be able to say, even this 87-year-old man who drives himself and comes to AVO-VEG, it's to be able to say, listen, I'm not talking, but this is what I've been able to do. And then I always say, have the expert handle the area of expertise. I'm not an agronomist, but would provide our agronomist to be able to offer support and to be able to answer the right questions. There's nothing worse than pretending to know what you don't know. Yes.
Very good. As we end up this interview, I mean, what is your message to the government that is listening to this program? And what kind of help would you be looking at, to come through from government circles?
I'll say, turn words into action and set timelines. And so that when the head of state mentions there's a stimulus package of 1.5 billion, delegate that to a specific group and ask for a report back within this specific timeline. We don't need to wait. The time is now, so our government needs to become more connected. It needs to become more connected with the true realities of what's happening on the ground. Not someone floating up there in the clouds, but the true realities of what's happening on the ground. We can do it. We have the beauty. We have number 8 in the world. We have the soils. We have the climate. We have everything. We have the clients. We have the know-how. We have the experience. But let's go with that phrase of tuko pamoja, because so far we're tuko pamoja.
Nathan,
yes,
thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us this morning.
Thank you.
And of course, sharing your insight with us.
Asante.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
Nathan Loyd Ndung'u is the CEO of and chairman of AVO-VEG, joining us here to give us an update of how the status, or what is the status of the horticulture industry here in Kenya. You have heard it from him. There are challenges and of course there are opportunities. This is Base Check. You're watching us live from Broadcasting House at O'Brien. Kimani is my Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1. The next conversation that is taking place here is the micro lending business. What is the way forward? Do we regulate this industry or do we leave the industry to regulate itself? Those are some of the questions that we shall be answering right now, right here. Stay right here. This is Base Check.